I remember years ago when I was a seminarian and Monsignor Slade Crawford was our vocations director. And being a spiritual father, he would have to rein us in and correct us and give us marching orders and all sorts of things. But as a father, he also loved us and saw us as sons and saw the good that was in us, even when we didn't see it fully ourselves. And I remember one of his habits that was a little unnerving at the beginning was when, let's say, he was in the room talking to someone and one of the seminarians would walk in the room and he'd say, "Here's one of my saints." And kind of say it with extra emphasis. "It's one of my saints." And I remember the first time that happened and just, it was so unnerving. I said, "Whoa, no, Father, come on, you know I'm not a saint." And it was that interesting thing. Like, imagine, how would you feel if we had a visitor that had not known our community and said, look at my saints. You're my saints. What would your reaction be? You don't have to answer that, but I'm just saying, what would it be? I just want you to think about that. Because I need us to understand something today. That if we're here to celebrate all saints, not just the canonized, but all who have lived in the Lord and died in the Lord, that's what it means to be a saint. And if you can't eventually, and I'm hoping sooner than later, get comfortable with that identity, with that label, then I want to lovingly warn you that you're not ready for the last day. Because if Jesus, at your death, welcomes you and says, "One of my saints," and you say no, not me. Yeah, you are. No, I'm not. With my help, with my grace, you are. You say, "No, I'm not worthy." There's only one alternative if you reject that invitation. And you don't want to do that. Because by definition, everyone who has died and is not judged worthy of heaven is in hell. Purgatory is not a permanent place. It is a place for those, not even a place as much as a process of purification for those on the way to glory who have some baggage to work out. Don't aim for purgatory. Aim for heaven. If you aim for heaven and miss, you get purgatory. If you aim for purgatory and miss, there's no recourse. It is false humility to deny that we are saints. And like I said yesterday, it's a big message, but I just touched on the surface of it. We're saints not because of what we have done, but because of what God has done and is doing for us. So rather than saying, no, I'm not a saint, the challenge is for us to move the posture of our mind and how we frame it to say, like Mary, the Almighty has done great things for me. I can own that. He's given me a share of His holiness. He's given me a greater share in His goodness. All I did was say yes. That's what being a saint is all about. To recognize that it is God who makes us holy. We just say yes. Again, what does it mean to be a saint in terms of our readings today? Who are these? Wearing white robes, where did they come from? I said to him, "My Lord, you are the one who knows." He said to me, "These are the ones who have survived the time of great distress. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb." These last few years have been quite distressing, especially for us here in Panama City. The whole world has gone through COVID and is still going through COVID. We had Category 5 hurricane right before that. And that's not to mention your individual lives and the stresses that you've been in. Do you realize that what it means to be a saint is just persevering through distress? If you persevere and are faithful through distress, you're fit in the category here. You're a saint. You know, the devil knows this too. The world, the flesh, and the devil know this. They know that Christ has won the victory, that the power of his cross and his precious blood is definitive. It is not up for debate. And if you are on his side at the final test, you are assured victory. Assured. There's no doubt about it. So the tactic of the world, the flesh, and the devil is to get you to quit the fight before the end of your life. Just give in, just give up to discouragement, despondency, despair. Because if we step out of the battle and get onto the sidelines and just put our life on hold, then we're not on the winning team. All you have to do to achieve the goal of your sanctity is stay in the fight and get up every time you fail, because you trust more in his mercy than you do in your worthiness. Again, from our readings, are we the ones who in our life today, by our words and our actions, say, blessing and glory, wisdom and thanksgiving, honor, power, and might be to our God forever and ever? Remember how yesterday we were talking about the great commandment, and I said the first part, as Jesus tells us, is to love the Lord your God with your whole being. How will your week look differently than last week with a greater awareness of that being definitive for your life? Your times of prayer and your times of travel and work, your hobbies, your leisure, what would it look like if you were doing all of that in and through your love for God? Because if we want to be the people who for eternity are saying by our words and actions, blessing and glory, wisdom and thanksgiving, honor, power, and might be to God forever, if we're not in the habit of doing that now, by our words and our actions, then we're probably not going to be wanting to do it or fitting to do it forever. We don't know when it is revealed exactly what we shall be, but we know that we are God's children now. And when it is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. I want to encourage us to be willing to surrender our own self-assessments for the sake of the Lord's assessment. Trust your faith over your feelings if you don't feel like a saint, but you're trying to be. St. Teresa of Avila, one of the great reformers, she and John of the Cross in the Carmelite community, she had a later conversion in her 40s, became a mystic, all sorts of powerful relationship experiences with the Lord, and suffered a lot to reform the Carmelite order from apathy and indifference, lukewarmness, to fervor and passion for the Lord and for the sake of the salvation of souls. And she founded new convents in this reformed worldview, spirituality. And as inquisitors and others were going around and interviewing the communities, word was starting to get around in other communities about the miracles and other things that were happening through her. And so they interviewed the sisters that she worked with day in and day out, and they said, people are saying in town that they think she's a living saint. What do you all think? You're like, Mother Teresa? Oh no, she is far too human to be a saint. there's an important lesson there. You are your first and greatest witness of your humanity. Then your neighbors, your family and friends, and those who know you well, and your quirks and your eccentricities, your bad habits, all that stuff, your buttons, your triggers. But notice that those assessments of yourself and of others, they are fallible. They are fallible judgments. They are incomplete assessments, because there is only one who can see into the heart and see into the mind and judge rightly. And it's not you, and it's not your neighbor. It is the Lord who knows who we are, who judges well what is in our heart and judges our deeds accordingly. And if he says you are a saint in the making, be careful of resisting that voice. Remember, we talked about yesterday, sometimes we are the person that is most negative and judgmental and accusatory toward ourselves. We don't know how to love ourselves and to make the distinction between acknowledging the truth, like Mary did. All generations will call me blessed. In any other context, that would probably be one of the most arrogant and erroneous things a person could say. But not so, because it was true. All generations will call me blessed, for the Almighty has done great things for me. So in summary, get over yourselves. Get over it. Get over this whole I'm not a saint thing. Realize that's hell language talking. If you want to live according to a heavenward life, then start acknowledging the truth, even if you don't feel that you are yet the saint that God is calling you to be. Well, today's the day. It's a new day. New word, new sacrament, new transformation, new humble acknowledgement, new surrendering of the lies, new intercession of the saints. You are saints. Get over it. Rejoice in it. And like Mary, proclaim, I can acknowledge this truth that I am a saint in the making because the Almighty has done and is doing and will do great things for me.